All right, so hey YouTube, it is your girl Danae, and I'm back again with another video for you guys. So in this video, I really want to talk about the importance of ancestor veneration and how to work with your ancestors. I did this video previously on this channel a while ago, but I don't think I covered enough, so I actually deleted it and I wanted to film another one for you guys. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Danae and I post content here weekly for you all in regards to health and wellness and spirituality. Hopefully, you know, my message relates to you and it reaches out to you, and you can apply this information to your life in a positive way. Okay, so that is what I'm here to do. I'm here to do mission work for God and just really spread love and light and really take you guys along my enlightenment journey and just kind of share some tips and tricks that have helped me along the way. All right, so if you're into this type of video, into this type of content, subscribe if you feel the vibe. Also, all of my information will be in the description box below if you guys want to follow up with me. All right, so if you just kind of see me looking to the side, I wrote some notes so I don't get off track, because y'all know how I get the rambling. All right, so ancestors. Okay, what is an ancestor? For some of you guys who don't know, an ancestor is a DNA related soul, right, that has passed on. Okay, so this body, this person, right, who was once alive, and you share the same DNA with them, you share the same bloodline with them, has passed on, has transitioned, has passed away. Okay, their physical body is dead, but their soul is still alive. We consider those ancestors. Okay, so in African spirituality and a lot of different religions around the world, they believe it's important to pay tribute and to honor the ones that came before you, because life is a cycle, and you know, we are our ancestors reincarnated. So it's important in most cultures to learn how to venerate your ancestors. Okay, and so that is done by healing the bloodline. Okay, so that's just kind of the basis of what an ancestor is. An ancestor is a DNA related individual who has passed on. So your sister can't be considered an ancestor unless she has passed on. Your brother cannot be considered an ancestor unless she's passed on. They have to be your DNA, okay? They have to not be living, okay? So that's pretty much what an ancestor is. Why do you want to venerate your ancestors? Okay, so like I said, there's nothing new under the sun, right? We're all here with karma. We all came to this earth with karma. Regardless of what you believe in, things have been passed down to us before we were born, because it's just been in our DNA. That has a lot to do with, you know, like for some people, like for me, for instance, in my bloodline, diabetes is prevalent. So diabetes, I have a high chance of getting diabetes if I don't take care of what I'm supposed to take care of. If I don't get my body healthy, then I have a very high chance of catching diabetes. It's in my DNA, you know, and so that can be in my DNA genetic makeup of, you know, my nervous system, you know, just it could be flowing anywhere along my bloodline. So for me, when I mean venerate, I mean to heal, right? So the idea of venerating your ancestors is the idea that you are healing your bloodline. You are removing curses off of your generation so that the next generation doesn't have to deal with what was passed on to you. Okay, because a lot of the times we don't realize that we're born into these families and we are programmed as soon as we're born. We're programmed to think a certain way, we're programmed to eat a certain way, we're programmed to live a certain way. All right, and that has everything to do with our DNA and our genetic makeup and what was passed on to that generation prior to us. So it's imperative when healing the ancestors that you build a relationship with them and you learn the triggers, you learn the curses that maybe your ancestors had to deal with. You try to understand why, you know, things happen the way that they happen for you in your life. And as soon as you heal that version of yourself, you are then able to venerate your ancestors. Okay, so for an example, I can say that earlier in my journey, for those who don't know, I study African spirituality. I have not converted and left Christianity yet, but it is something that I do practice from time to time. Well, I practice frequently now, but I just haven't really gotten to the chance of denouncing Christianity. I don't feel like that's something I am ready for at the moment, but I do believe in a lot of these ancient practices outside of Christianity. And in African spirituality, they think it's extremely, they know that it's important to venerate your ancestors because it's kind of like on a scale of hierarchy when you're looking at spiritual enlightenment. You know, your physical body's here, your higher self is here, and then your ancestors are here, your spirit guides are there, your deities are there, and then the Most High is at the top, right? So we need to understand that in this life, although the Most High controls every aspect, whether you believe in the Most High or the universe, any type of power bigger than us, we already know controls how things happen for us in our lives. However, we know that we're co-creators and that we have the ability to manifest and do magic in our own lives. And alongside with your ancestors, you are then able to really attract and speed up processes that otherwise weren't available or even, you know, possible if you hadn't built a relationship with your ancestors. So to other people, it seems very strange. It seems very odd to think that there is a spiritual body outside of you that can communicate with you. But to me, that's never been odd, just because I am a very spiritual person. Before I became very spiritual, I was religious. I grew up in the church, so I understood the presence of the Holy Spirit, and I knew that the Holy Spirit was real, and I knew that spiritual warfare was real, and I knew that demons were real, and I knew about all of this stuff. So when the idea of ancestor veneration came to me, it wasn't anything that I doubted to be true. Just because I know that there's angels and that there's other spiritual entities out here in the world guiding me, protecting me, or trying to harm me, right? And so I figured it made sense to build a team of spiritual, warriors to help me slay these demons, okay? As a warlock, I understand. Yeah, so you completely understand. Yeah. Um and so so I can just give you an example. Like I was talking to you about my diabetes, the diabetes that runs in my family. So that the okay, so who I already said who you can place, who you can honor, right, as an ancestor has to be somebody who has your blood, your DNA, right? So for me, I definitely put up close family members just because I didn't feel comfortable reaching out to spirits who I hadn't known personally. So that was kind of my first step in practicing ancestor veneration was, setting up an altar. Okay? So that's also very important in ancestor veneration is you have to have a place to honor these ancestors. It doesn't have to be anything major or large or anything, but it's important to have a safe space where you can communicate with them and you can know that they're communicating back with you. So, if you guys want information on how to set up an altar, I'll definitely do another live for you guys on how to do that. But yeah, when setting up an ancestor altar, that is where you go to lay it all down. So in the church, they have altars. So it's no different. That is just the house of the Lord. But I have different altars for different type of spiritual work that I do. However, when consulting with the ancestors, I always make sure that I do that at my ancestor altar. And so it's very simple as far as communicating with them. You just have to be extremely clear in your intention to connect with them. But I found that just answering, just calling out their names is enough. So like I said, I put close family members on my altar, like my aunts and my grandmother and my grandparents and people who I knew their spirit when they were alive, so that when they spoke to me, I knew who it was because I knew the type of energy that it was bringing. And even when they didn't speak to me, I could intuitively pick up the energy, like, oh wow, that's my aunt talking to me, that is my cousin talking to me. Like it's a feeling that you get, and you do have to be connected in order to be able to trust that inner voice. So I wouldn't, that this is definitely the start to spirituality, is getting in contact with your ancestors. And for a lot of people, like I said, I know it's very strange to do because it's almost like you're expecting to hear voices, and that seems very much like a schizophrenic episode. However, it is not. We all have spiritual gifts. And some of us are clairaudient, which means we hear voices. Some of us can actually see spirits, and some of us can feel them when we're being empathic and things of that nature. So that is one way that you can kind of connect to them, definitely through an ancestor altar. But I found when connecting with ancestors, the best thing to do is really meditate. Meditate on what you need to hear or what you need to feel to confirm whether they are speaking to you or not. So typically when I'm reaching out to my ancestor, I will call out their full name. Okay, I'll call out their full name. Now mind you, Some people, will light candles, and, they will perform a whole ritual before contacting their ancestors. Honestly, all of that isn't needed, but it shows a level of dedication and respect when you are performing some type of ceremony for your ancestors. So typically, I will light a candle and I will have a glass of water. If I see bubbles in the glass of water, I know that my spirits are there with me and they are trying to communicate with me. Thank you. And so, yeah, that's definitely one of the ways that I will connect. But prior to doing all of that, because I'm very intentional about everything I do, I started off just kind of speaking to them, writing to them, and then meditating and listening to that voice. All right. And like I said, you do have to call out that spirit in order for it to activate and for them to hear you. You have to call out their spirit. You got to call out their names. And with that, they will communicate with you. They will tell you when something is not good for you. They will tell you when you should do more of something, when you're being lazy. Like, they will read you for filth in your own way, or they will, promote you and uplift you in their own way. But you will be able to understand it. And it's just a matter of you being in tune and being in a meditative state to hear that message. That is not something that you need to do with the TV playing and a bunch of extracurricular activities going on around you. It's just kind of something that you want to, be in a peaceful space to hear outright. So that's pretty much how you communicate with them. It's very simple. It's not hard at all. Now, if you are a little unsure about who you're communicating with, you're not sure which ancestor, you're not sure if, and this is another thing. I want to get into this also because a lot of people are hopping on the trend of communicating with ancestors and working with their ancestors, and that's fine. But you always want to make sure that you are working with a healed version of your ancestor. You do not want to, if you feel like whenever you call on a certain ancestor that the energy is negative, that is your cue. You can either venerate them and try to heal them and figure out what is it that they went through that was so traumatic for them to move in this energy, or you can simply tell them that, hey, I no longer want to communicate with you because of your energy, so I am closing the door for that type of communication. There is absolutely nothing wrong with saying that you no longer want to work with your ancestor, because not all ancestors are venerated. Not all ancestors are moving from a higher place. They have their traumas, they have their things that they possibly haven't been able to let go, and sometimes you will feed these ancestors your energy and they will be able to grow and to be bigger, and who knows what they're really helping you manifest into your life. So it can be a very dangerous thing if you're not certain. However, what I always find the best thing to do is, and I say this, doing any type of spiritual work, whether you are performing candle magic, whether you are just, praying, and using the power of the tongue, or whether you are, any type of magic that you're doing, scripting, whatever, you always want to divine before you do any type of spiritual work. Divining is divination, okay? So I typically like to use tarot or oracle cards. That is how you can clarify who you're talking to. Okay, if you are not a person who knows how to read for yourself, find a trusted advisor, somebody who you know is going to read the tarot for what it is, and ask them to communicate with your ancestors. Ask them if they put up a good energy. Ask them if this is an ancestor that you should communicate with or that you should work with. So that is a great way to just kind of confirm that you're not dabbling with a spirit who is not ready to be better and to ascend, right? So you always divine, and that'll just bring a lot of comfortability to you and give you a plan of what you need to do, or even if you need to do it, right? So that's pretty much the gist of ancestor worship. Workings, let's see, leaving libations. All right, so offerings. So, if you're in the church, they will heavily tell you how important it is to tithe, how important it is to give your offerings to the community. For me, this is a form of offering. I'm spending 20 minutes for free to show people how to venerate. This is a form of offering. So when you offer and when you put out good merits into the universe or into the world, then that is how you are able to get blessed tenfold. It is not a scam. It is not a lie. Like, you want to be blessed, you want to live an abundant life, you have to give. You have to be a servant of God. You have to be a servant. And so in that sense, it goes with the same thing. It's a sacrifice. It's an energy exchange. You can't get something for nothing. You have to be able to give. And so it's the same things with your ancestors. Your ancestors need to be strong. Your ancestors need to be able to be there to push things through for you in the spiritual realm so that it can help manifest in the physical realm. And by doing that, they need energy. And so certain things will give them energy, like food, water. Water is life. Okay, if you do not feel comfortable making plates for your ancestors, leave them water. Some ancestors love rum. Like for my grandmother, I give her rum because my grandmother loved alcohol. That's who she was. And so, side note, in my practice of venerating my grandmother, I knew that I had to heal that version of her that felt like she needed to drink so much, because I can honestly say that I went through a phase where I thought drinking was going to be a part of my life forever. I've been sober. I haven't had a drink in a while, and I think I probably did have like a sip or two here and there. And if I did, it's only stayed at that. It's never went more than like, oh, she's drunk and she's like, no, like that is a version of myself that I healed. So going into the future, I'm not teaching my daughter how to drink and how to, like, she's not watching me be a drunk, So it was like that version of myself I had to heal, because I knew that I had that in me to be able to be a drunk. It runs in my family. Alcoholism runs in my family. And so really healing that bloodline, healing that trauma, and trust me, there's so much more to go. That was just like the surface of trauma that my generation, that my family has went through. But that is something that I don't ever have to deal with, and my daughter's not going to have to deal with it, because she's never going to see me be an alcoholic. She's never going to, witness me drinking that way. Okay, so it's important to leave libations for your ancestors. Now, how often do you want to do that? It is important to develop a schedule with your ancestors. Whenever you're doing that type of work, consistency is the key, right? You have to do things a certain amount of times a day. And this is just with anything. Literally, you have to be consistent. Numbers carry power, right? So if you are deciding to do some ancestor work, you may want to bring them a meal, or you may want to bring them an offering, maybe once every week, at the same time every week. When you speak with your ancestors, you may want to speak with them every time, the same type of time of day. That's just how things work in this world. Everything is ruled by numbers, shapes, and colors. Okay? And so, yeah, I'll just clarify one more time why it's important to work with your ancestors. It's important to work with your ancestors because nothing new is under the sun. Everything that you're going through or that you're going to go through has already happened. And basically that DNA, that ancestor had already lived through whatever you're going through. So it's like having counsel. It's like having an older brother, an older sister, to make things easier for you, to make things more relatable and understandable for you. They are there to guide you. They are not there to support you and to do everything for you, but they are there to guide you in your time of need. They are there to push you to be better, and the healed ones are. Okay, keep that in mind. The healed ones are. But once you start healing that bloodline, things will become easier for you. Your karma will lighten up. You won't have to deal with some of the shit that you've been dealing with most of your life, going through the same karmic cycles, the same type of relationships, the same type of jobs. You will be able to grow and make yourself higher and have less karmic debt. Okay, because that's what happens. Your ancestors bring karmic debt to you, right? Because everything is already instilled in your bloodline. That trauma that they never dealt with, unfortunately, was passed down to you, right? If you want to know, in the woman's body, the babies, the eggs that I'm carrying at this current moment have eggs in them. So literally, whatever I'm doing for my unborn child, the egg that has not even been fertilized yet, they are picking up my DNA as we speak. That's how important and how living we are. People don't think or take into consideration that every living thing is in our body, our blood, our veins, our cells. They are all living and they all are responding to our consciousness. So it's important to make sure that you heal your bloodline, that you know what your DNA carries. Okay, so that is all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this live. If you did, subscribe if you feel the vibe. I would love to see you guys in the next one, and leave some comments down below so I know what you guys like to see, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.